Well, folks, we made it to season 7. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast. I am your host, Josias Abriel, and published author. Speaking of published author, before the episode starts, make sure to go check out my books. They're available on Amazon, and the link is in the episode description below. Go ahead, get you some healing. One's a poetry book about overcoming pain and trauma and stuff like that, and then the other one's a self awareness interactive journal notebook. So get you some healing. You're worth it. Another thing that you're worth all the love in the world, you're worth all the healing in the world, and I'm glad that you're here with us today to heal together. You are loved, you are valuable, this is your sign. Alrighty, enjoy the episode. Bye, folks! Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and author, Josias Abriel. Uh, Today we'll be talking about happiness and self-love. We'll be starting off there, folks. Before we get there, let us introduce Jamie. Jamie, hello, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, Jamie, thanks for being here. Uh, Before we get into, the topics, tell us a little bit about you. Let us get to know you a little bit. What are your credentials, anything that you do, any work you have, things of that nature.
I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4 children. I work as about day as a sales in sales to help support all these kids that I've got. I'm also an actor, and I wrote a book called "Who Are You?" The Art of Being Yourself in a World That Doesn't Want You to. That went on to be an international bestseller. And so now I'm transitioning to utilize the book and help teach people how to be happy.
Wonderful. So is a book something that you've always wanted to write, or that just came up?
No, so I kind of followed the traditional path that was laid on to me, without really thinking about whether that was what I wanted. So
Mhm.
I went to college, became an engineer. Was getting paid a high salary coming out of college, and a few years into that, I just realized I was super unhealthy,
Mm,
mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And so I took a leap of faith and I quit my job. This was back in 2019, and I went into a bunch of credit card debt. Like, I piled on about $50,000 worth of credit card debt because I had all these, credit cards from having that high paying job, and utilized
mm,
that while, finding myself. And I took all these personal development courses and workshops and read all these books and stuff. And completely changed my year, or completely changed my life in a year. I lost 90 pounds. I just completely transformed into an entirely different person. And I was, to answer your question, I kind of had an epiphany as to why I had changed and what really took place that allowed me to change all of this. And
mm,
so I realized it boiled down to one word, and that was approval. And I stopped searching for the approval of other people, and I started to search for the approval of myself. And so I realized that I had to write a book on that. And when I had that, I literally woke up the next day and was like, I'm going to write a book. And so the book transformed into something completely different than I had originally intended. And it became the book that ended up getting published. So.
Wonderful. Um, Folks, oh well, Jamie and folks, Jamie, any links that you have so we could check out your book? Go ahead and send that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can send you the link if you go to identity-mastery.com forward slash who are you, one word. And I'll send you that link so you can put it in. But I'm giving the book away for free. You just cover the costs of having to print the book and ship it to you. So yeah, that's definitely there. You can get it on Amazon for much higher, but yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, yes. So, folks, the link will be in the episode description below. So go check out the book. Um, well, for those who don't know, tell us a little, a little bit about like what the book is about.
Yeah. So, with the title "Who Are You," it basically shows you, who you are,
Hmm.
how to rewrite who you are, because who you are today is most, if you haven't picked up the pen and rewritten that version of yourself, is most likely who you've been told to be since you were a kid. You've been taught how to think, how to feel, what to say, what to not do, what to do. And most of us have
Hmm.
never really stopped to ask, like, is who I am today the happiest version of me that I could be? So once you realize kind of that perspective, the book teaches you, okay, what does it mean to be a human? What does it mean? Who are when I ask who are you? What does that even mean?
Hmm.
How do you rewrite that version of you so that you can create more happiness? And so happiness is the book is about finding yourself, but really more about creating yourself so that you can enjoy more love and happiness in your life.
Hmm.
And so if you ask yourself, when are you the happiest, right? Most people are the happiest when they're surrounded by people that they love, or they're doing something that they love, whether that's at work or, just having fun, kicking back. But there's a third element to that. And that most people miss out on, which is when you're in love with yourself. And so for me, happiness is love. The words are synonymous. When you are the happiest, you are in love with life. You're in love with yourself. You're in love with the people you're around, and you love what you do for money, or in your free time and your leisure, or what have you. So the book goes deeply into those three areas of life on how you can create more love and more happiness in those three buckets. So I kind of in the book created an equation for happiness. Your level of happiness is how you view yourself, which is when you look in the mirror, what do you think about yourself when you're by yourself?
Hmm.
So those two elements come down to confidence and self-love. So creating confidence and creating self-love, how much self-love and how much confidence you have creates your self-image. So that's one. The second is your relationships, the people you spend time with, because you can create so much love and happiness within yourself. But if you're surrounded by negativity, if you're surrounded by people who tear you down or don't have your best interest at heart, um, that's going to bring you down, right? And then the last thing is your wealth, which is what you do for money, what you do in your leisure time. If you don't enjoy what you do, you can be surrounded by people that you love. You can be in love with yourself, but if you're not fulfilled in what you're doing on a daily basis, that can bring you down too. So, honing in on those three areas of your life and using the principle of rewriting who you are to
Hmm.
match those three buckets of your life to create the most amount of happiness and joy that you possibly can.
Yes, wonderful. So, folks, check out Jamie's book. Link in the episode description below. Go ahead and check that out. That's really cool. What you mentioned, Jamie. I know this is going to tie into our topics. So I promise I'm not going off topic. But something that you had mentioned earlier, when you first started, telling us a little bit about your book, and you mentioned e- basically rewriting who you are, because like if you haven't, high chances are that it's was probably written for you. And that reminded me of something that I heard the other day of, like society telling us what we should be can prohibit what we could be, and so I think that's what that reminded me of, and I think that is phenomenal and amazing that you know um that you mentioned that, you know so thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so happiness and self sorry, were you going to say something?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Happiness and self-love. Jamie, what is your journey, your story with that? where was the start until where you are now? Like, take us through that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with self-love, is no one can give that to you.
Mhm,
No one can create that for yourself. And
mhm,
if they do, it becomes conditional on them having to always build you up, and that's not in your control. Creating self-love and creating happiness is all about controlling that within yourself, and having the power within yourself to create that. For me, I was when I my life, I think I kind of grew up with I had really amazing parents from the standpoint of they did whatever they could to make sure that I had everything taken care of, right?
mhm, mhm,
Um in that process, I think I relied on them so heavily that when you get out on your own, it can be a struggle to not have to rely on them anymore. Um, they loved me so fiercely that they didn't want to see me in any pain, but the outside world and the real world is full of pain if you don't know how to handle it and you don't know how to take care of yourself if you've always relied on other people to take care of you. And so I think that when I went to college, I was always around my family growing up, and then in college, I was always around roommates and friends. I mean, constantly. And then in college, I met a girl, and um, the next few years got engaged, and always around her. So I was never fully alone. And I was always listening to music anytime that I was. So I always had words in my head. Someone was
mhm,
speaking to me at all times. And when I quit my job, I also we mutually broke off the engagement, and I was alone for the first time,
mm,
and it was very difficult. Um, and I think through that process, I went through a shift of like constantly hearing everyone else's voice, even though I'm by myself. I think we're
mhm,
so inundated with information that your own true voice is masked under all of that. What you actually think, what you actually want to believe about yourself, all of that is secondary to what you've been hearing from the outside world your entire life. And that process eventually, when the noise and the chatter went away and I had clarity after a while, I could hear my own voice and I could decide what I wanted to think and I could decide who I wanted to be. And through that process, I decided that I wanted to love myself, that I wanted to believe positive things about myself, that I could do those things. And those personal development workshops that I took, that was all surrounded on that idea of having better ideas about myself and better ideas about the world and things like that. So that journey of self-love first started as a crash, almost like um just a complete disruption of everything I had ever done for the past 25, 26 years. And that process felt, I mean, there was depression, there was anxiety, there was um, suicidal thoughts,
mhm,
and all
mhm,
these kinds of things
mhm,
until you get the outside of that. And you finally are able to create that self love within yourself after that journey has completed. And so, I think it was a gift to be able to be alone for the first time, even though I fought it every sense of the way. I didn't
mhm,
plan for it to be that way. It just kinda happened that way, and, um, yeah, it was one of those things where I I had to create for myself, and then at a certain point, I didn't wanna be around people anymore. Um, that was also a struggle because and that's why I think the relationships piece of that bucket is so strong too, because I created this whole belief system of self-love and compassion, and as soon as I was around people again and started to venture out, I realized that maybe unconsciously that that self-love I had created for myself was conditional on not being around other people, and so I had to eh, integrate into society almost and then
Mhm,
recreate that self-love in the midst of everyone else who doesn't have that, and
mhm,
it's really hard to give other people love when you don't have love for yourself because giving you can't really give anything you don't have.
mhm,
So, that process was also a shift, and so you have to create self-love within your relationships as well. So yeah, it was a major shift in a journey for me.
yeah. And when you mentioned well you did mention yeah you did mention that. So what would you say to those right now who are struggling with, self-love?
Um, I think first you have to understand what is your biggest insecurity. So you self-love and insecurities don't exist together, right? So whatever your biggest insecurity is, most people have three big insecurities. Um, those insecurities are whether or not you feel attractive, whether or not you feel intelligent, and whether or not you feel enough. Most people struggle with those three things. Um, and so you have the power and you have the ability to rewrite those beliefs about yourself. Most people have never been taught how to do that. They just go through life um, thinking that these imperfections and these things that are negative about themselves are true. They never question, is this idea false? Because emotionally, your emotions are telling you that they are true. Because if you feel like you're not attractive and someone says or does something in a way that that triggers that response, your whole entire body is going to feel the shame, the, um, the lack of worth, all in that instance, and so your emotions is telling your body that this is true because it's what you believe. It is what you have been taught. Someone in your childhood taught you that you are not attractive. Society has built an entire idea of what attractive is and what it isn't, and they have shared with you that you don't fit that bill. Society has created an entire system and ideas of what it means to be an intelligent. And most of the time, if you didn't get straight A's or if you didn't ace math and science and you're not this intellectual genius, you're not smart. And then on top of that, if you haven't achieved this, that, or the other, if you haven't, gotten the highest grades in school and went to the best college and got the best job, you're not enough.
Mm, mhm,
That is the system that society and the beliefs that we all seem to hold and want to hold on to emotionally because we're triggered. And so you have to, in the process of being triggered, have to know that it is an emotional response.
mhm,
You have to know, like, if you feel triggered, let's do attractive for one example. At the end of the day, someone out of 8 billion people in this world finds you attractive just the way you are. Guaranteed, without question. And so if you know that, if you can find that, if you can realize that, stop trying to get the other 7.9 billion people, whatever that large number is, to
mhm,
find you attractive.
mhm,
Make that one person you. find rewrite what it means to be attractive and put yourself in that bucket.
mm,
Because at the end of the day, you are as attractive as you believe yourself to be. You could be literally the sexiest person in the world, but if you don't believe about that, if you don't believe that about
mhm,
yourself, you're gonna need everyone else on the outside world to constantly tell you that you're beautiful.
mhm,
So, reverse engineer that. Become so in love with yourself that you find yourself so beautiful or so handsome or so sexy or whatever it is that you want to believe about yourself that no one on the outside world can tell you otherwise.
mhm,
And so that process is messy and it's
mhm,
difficult and it's a process of being triggered a lot emotionally, and also having this, like, intellectual knowing that the emotions and that what they're saying and that, um, everything that is happening in that experience is not real. It is a product of habitual ways of beliefs, and it is a product of habitual emotions
mhm,
and thoughts that you've had your entire life, and you have the ability to remind yourself that what other people think don't matter. The most important opinion about you should be you.
mm,
Your opinion about yourself should be more important than anyone else's opinion about you. And that's very difficult to rewrite, but it's the most important thing you have to rewrite in order to be happy, because otherwise, everyone else on the outside will control you with what they feel about you. And you will essentially be a piano key or a
mm,
piano. And if I hit this key on this piano, I'm going to trigger this emotion and this reaction out of you.
mm,
And I may not even be intending to. And a lot of times our insecurities get triggered when people aren't even intending to trigger them.
mm,
A lot of times people just say and do things without the awareness that you're even involved in the matter. And yet at the same time, you feel that hurt because because it triggered something within you.
mm,
And our triggers and our insecurities are there to show us that they're there. Because when we were kids, we didn't have the ability to decide what we want to believe about ourselves. We didn't have the strength or or the courage or even the awareness that that's what we should be doing is to protect what we believe about ourselves. And so we just adopted what everyone else said.
mhm,
And so in those moments, you have to understand who you are, who you wanna be, what you wanna believe about yourself, and focus on that and healing those emotions. Because the more you do that, the more you heal those emotions, that's how you recreate the belief. A lot of people, when like, let's say someone and let's take the first insecurity that I said, they glow up, right?
mhm,
They were unattractive in middle school, maybe in high school too, and they become an adult and they age out of their weird puberty phase, and now they're beautiful. That little girl, that
mm,
little boy who still believes and was made fun of for not being perfect is still in you. And so what ends up happening is most people don't recognize that. And so they built this confidence and this awareness of around this idea that now I'm beautiful, now I'm attractive. So now you have almost like an onion where you have the insecurity
mm,
as your core, but you've layered on top of it things to make you confident and love about yourself,
mm,
but it's false and it becomes arrogance. And this is what happens with a lot of beautiful people who were not attractive growing up
mhm,
is they create arrogance and they create I'm better than you around this idea because in the middle at the core it's actually insecurity, and that goes with people who are intelligent. Most people who are intelligent were driven to be intelligent by society or by their parents, and so they were driven by this idea that I'm not smart enough. And so once they get the Ivy League graduation, they're professor at Harvard and they're solving all these, mathematical equations and things like that, and they've built this entire confidence around themselves that I'm intelligent, but in their core as a child they still feel stupid. And
mm,
so they have to use their intelligence to make other people feel stupid because secretly they feel stupid even though they're brilliant. Same with being enough. You've got people who grew up not feeling enough because they haven't achieved this or that or the other. They weren't good at sports. They weren't good at grades and things like that. They have other natural geniuses that they're not even aware of that they are an absolute genius at because society says you have to be a genius in order, or you have to be intelligent to be smart, but you can be a genius at pretty much anything. You can be a genius at fixing cars. You can be a genius at the way you treat other people. You can be a genius in something that most people take for granted and don't even think that because they're so naturally gifted at it, that it's actually a gift that they have.
Mm.
And so, you can create this level and lack of lack of feeling enough, and some people who have that insecurity go on to be driven by that, and they create all these achievements, and now they've got this business and they've got this amount of money, but they're insecure deep down within because it's never enough, and they've gotta keep trying to create that. So my point, I guess, in all of that is if you're insecure, if you don't feel like you're attractive, if you don't feel like you're intelligent, if you don't feel like you are enough, you are ahead of the people who are not aware of that, who have created arrogance and this idea that I'm better than you because I've got this much status, or I'm this intelligent, or I'm this beautiful, because they're not aware of the idea that they even believe this about themselves. And if you even try to share that with them, they've built such a facade on top of themselves that they wouldn't even accept it if you told them. So if you are insecure, you're ahead of the game because you're aware of it. And the first thing you have to do is admit and accept that you have these things so you can heal these things and change them over time.
Yes. Wow. Well said. JB, I love I love when you mentioned, rewriting. I think that's so powerful. Are there things that you had to rewrite? What are those things and how did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, all 3 of those things.
Mhm.
So pretty much all 3 of those beliefs I had to rewrite, and I think most people will have to rewrite those 3 things. I think those are really the core 3 core insecurities most people have. I definitely grew up, um so I was pretty much heavy set my entire life, overweight. In middle school, I had like I have this picture. It's like this. I got so much hair on my face, and I've got glasses with the braces, and I look just so nerdy. And I grew up kind of feeling like I was not at all attractive. I got made fun of, bullied a lot for being overweight. My mom was super protective of me being in the sun, so I was never in the sun at all. She was very afraid of skin cancer and sunburns and things like that. So I was all made fun of for being like super white,
Mhm.
like my skin not having any tan or anything.
Mhm.
So I got bullied a lot for how I looked, and the way I dealt with that was I was intelligent.
Mhm.
So I had built this my level of confidence on being intelligent. So I was the person who, because I was so insecure on the inside, built the facade of I'm better than everyone else because I'm smarter than everyone else. And so that was me. Whenever I was bullied, I bullied other people so much harder with intelligence that they would never want to bully me again. That was my defense mechanism. Um, and that's not something to be proud of. That's not something that I'm, sharing because I'm proud of it. I'm sharing because that's a very normal thing for a lot of us to do. Is we
Mhm.
have to like some people don't do that because they realize value wise that that's not treating anyone that way is not okay, right? Treating anyone negatively is not okay. And so they don't build confidence on anything. They don't create any kind of self-worth within themselves because they know inherently that without healing that feeling of being enough, um, whatever it is that they build themselves up on that's not rooted in self-love is going to end up just utilizing that to tear other people down.
Mm,
And so the process of that, creating that self-love and changing that beliefs, I had to do really all three. And then being enough, like, I think pretty much everyone struggles with that the most. I mean, if you really believe that you were enough, like being attractive and being intelligent wouldn't be that as important to you because you realize that those things don't matter. Um, at the same time, they do feel good. And I realize when you change those beliefs about yourself, when you change your beliefs to being attractive, to being intelligent, to being enough, you become those things. Because when I switched that, that's when I lost 90 pounds. I grew a beard. I've changed different hairstyles, but I slick mine back now. And so you have an exact weight, you have an exact hairstyle, you have an exact facial style or facial hair if you're a man, or if you're a woman. Makeup style. Like you have an exact way of looking, glasses, no glasses. There's a style out there for you that makes you the most attractive, hands down. And you can find that. And the more you believe that you're attractive, the more you're going to be led to whatever that is. Our brains, our subconscious mind, everything we believe about ourselves manifests into reality. And it's not by thinking positive, and it's not just by those are important, but you have to emotionally feel and become these things. When I started to recreate the feeling of being intelligent from a secure place, not from an arrogant place, because from an arrogant place, when you do that, you feel like you know everything and you
mhm,
you know this and you know that, and you don't need to learn.
mhm,
When you open that up, you can become intelligent by reading. You can become intelligent by listening to podcasts
mhm,
to better yourself. Any idea that can have a positive change in your life is creating more intelligence for yourself. So, um and then the idea of being enough, um that one's tough because we can get so caught up in our careers and how we look to other people. And you have to find, I think, for being enough, you have to find some spirituality and really dig into that to realize that none of this really matters. It's all gonna change. Everything you're dealing with in 5 years is probably not going to be there. And so, who you are as a person, just being a human being and being alive, you are enough. And most people, if I were to say that, would laugh. They don't, it's uncomfortable. They don't feel good about that. Maybe not the people listening, but if you were to go into the vast majority of society and told them, hey, you're enough, just the way you are, they're going to be like, no, I need that promotion. No, I need that second house. No, I need, and then, but then it's a third house and then it's another promotion.
mhm,
And then it's because it's never going to feel good. It's never going to be enough.
mhm.
So those three things, if you can start with changing those three beliefs, I'm attractive, I'm intelligent, I'm enough, and you can rewrite those insecurities from childhood all the way up until today and to continue to hold on to those beliefs, you'll end up becoming those things.
Mhm.
And the self-love and compassion and joy that comes through that is it's something that I would never trade for anything in this entire world.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing what you said. So, 2 things. One, with the spirituality aspect, I love that you had mentioned that. Folks, um, I'm sure y'all already know this, but if you're, new to this podcast, I'm someone who has died went on the other side and came back. It's called a near death experience, NDEs. And
Mhm.
folks, I can tell you fundamentally, you are enough. You are so Also, speaking of that, yesterday, folks, I released an episode talking about my NDE. Actually, finally, just genuinely having a whole episode and just talking about it, folks. So go listen to that. I think it's episode 130. 130, folks. So go listen to that if you want to hear all the cool things. And it's just nothing but good news, folks, and great, just amazing. But, um, you know, having been on the other side, I call it the other side. Some humans call it heaven. I think it was more unlimited to be called heaven. I call it eternity or the other side. But it was there that I found out that, just fundamentally, as we are, without even doing anything, just us as in general, just beings, we are enough. We are beautiful. We are so, so loved. I don't know how to explain how loved we are because it was so vast. Like, it was so vast. It was so vast. Like, the best I can say is so, so loved and put emphasis on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, folks, if you're listening and you're not feeling enough and you're not feeling worthy and you're not feeling loved or you're not feeling beautiful, um, I know feelings there and they tell us a lot of things. Um, but I want you to know that you are loved. You are worthy. You are enough. I don't know what to say to the feelings because I mean, I validate them. Um, Feelings come with the human experience. Um, they just do. And it sucks, folks, that you know, sometimes those feelings, and then sometimes they're influenced by, our external and then our internal as well. But want y'all to know that you just being you, folks, you are worthy. You are enough. You are so loved, and I promise you, you are so beautiful. Um, yeah. So I love that you had mentioned that, Jamie.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback off that. I've never had a near death experience. I have
Oh,
read about them. You know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna kind of share some perspectives on that from a
sure.
spiritual point of view. I think, what you experienced, and again, you literally cannot put it into words. It's indescribable. But from a logical, like if I could potentially put a box on it, it would be considered unconditional love, which means no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter what you feel, the love is there from that point of view. I do believe that every single human being on this planet, their destiny is to become that here on earth, to become unconditional love. And so those feelings, the negative feelings is what is preventing us from actually experiencing that divine love, because that unconditional divine love is those feelings don't exist when you're experiencing that, and so they are the prevention of experiencing that divine love. At the same time, you have to experience those feelings, because if you don't
Mhm,
experience those feelings, you can't understand and know what divine love is. Because if you people who are absolutely miserable and have never experienced anything other than misery have
mhm,
no idea that they're miserable. If you've
mhm,
experienced happiness and love your entire life and had nothing, felt nothing else other than that, you wouldn't even know what that was,
mhm.
because that's all you know.
Right,
The
right.
negative emotions that we're experiencing and that we feel on a daily basis is what gives us the distinction to be so grateful for the love and the happiness that we do experience. And so you have to move through those emotions, and you have to heal those versions of you, and that other side you're talking about. You can have that other side here. You just have
Mhm,
to heal those emotions, the unconditional love, is the experience of loving yourself unconditionally. No matter what is going on the outside, no matter what anyone is saying to you, no matter what you have to do for money, if you love yourself so much unconditionally, you can experience that here. Life is going to show you what your false beliefs about the world, and
Mhm.
your false beliefs about the world is what, and yourself,
Mhm.
is what's creating the negative emotion. All suffering comes from the word shouldn't,
Mhm.
as in this should not be happening, unconsciously from the very core of whatever it is. And so, if you can get in alignment with the idea that what's happening right here, right now, is trying to teach you something about yourself that you need to work on and you need to heal. And the more you heal those emotions and the more you learn how to even do that and you accept yourself, not to invalidate how you feel. That is, I think, the most important thing is how you feel is perfect, because you have to feel through them and you have to
Mhm.
understand why you're feeling them in order to heal them. And
Mhm.
so it's really a paradox of like you don't, in order to experience unconditional love, you don't experience these emotions. But in order to get to unconditional love and not experience these emotions, you have to experience these emotions,
Mhm.
and you have to understand what is creating that you've been taught.
Mhm.
You've been taught something in your life, your childhood. Someone made you believe something about yourself or the world that is creating that negative experience, that negative emotion.
Yeah.
Um, and this isn't to discount anything terrible that has happened to you
Mhm.
or may happen to you, but the more you can get in alignment with the perfection of yourself, and
Yes.
the more you can experience that, the closer you're going to get to that divine love I think you're talking about.
Mhm. Oh, that was beautifully said. Yes, that's why I love to validate emotions because
Hmm.
they serve the purpose, you know. And I recently, and by recently I do mean last week. As of last week, I started. This is a my own internal journey to for me myself to work on not labeling my experiences or emotions as good or bad. I just label it as an experience. And that's just something personally though. Now like when I am like speaking about it to like others, I do label it just to like help like I don't know, make it make sense to others if that makes sense. Um just to like I don't know prove the point, but yeah, so I will say like yeah, you know, those experiences folks and those emotions which are part of the experience folks, you know, they do serve a purpose. So I love what you said there. And you also said um the law of duality and the law of polarity, you know,
Hmm.
like kind of like as above so below. You know, I know how high something is because I know how low something is. Like um I know I like this rose because I see this rose is beautiful because I think that the flower next to it is not as beautiful. Does it make sense? And so I love what you said when you're just like, you know, if you experience like this like only the same thing, like you won't know the difference, you know. It's kind of like that, like I know how high something can get because I know how low it can get, kind of like a thing. So I love that you mentioned that. That is definitely um definitely a reality. I know for me like up until 15 when I was 15, February 23rd 2013 is when I had my NDE, you know, I committed suicide. And I did not know, Jamie, I did not know that what I was experiencing at home wasn't love. I didn't know until I died and went on the other side. And that's what kicked off my healing journey. But I thought that, you know, everyone's parents treated them like that. I thought that, you know, abuse was normal. I had nothing to compare it to. Nothing at all, you know. And so and then, you know, I was always gaslit with the just be grateful, be thankful thingy because I'm just gonna say it like my parents, they were very very wealthy. My dad was a pastor. We were just the people thought we were the perfect family, but inside that house, it was far, 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 far from it. He's a very, very, very abusive man. Um, but that was also my childhood. It was just constant abuse. And so I didn't even realize that I didn't think I was worthy of love. That I didn't think I didn't realize that until I got to experience the greatness. I mean, the amazement, unconditional love. And,
Mm.
and the thing is about that, folks, is like, well, I'm just talking to Jamie. The thing about that, Jamie, it's, man, like, you can feel the unconditional love. Like, no words have to be spoken. You just are it, you feel it. Um, you feel like you're at home, because you are. You feel fully seen, fully accepted, and you feel so light. Like the human body, the human this vessel that we're in, you know, I didn't realize how heavy it is until I became out of it. Until I became, because this is just the when we come on the other side, like we're more of we're an energy, but we can create ourselves to be presented as this. We can create ourselves to be presented as whatever, but it's just a presentation, whereas this is physical, more 3D. And it by this folks, I'm pointing at my body. And let's see, to make it make sense, and this has a point. I promise. I'm gonna bring it. It's gonna make sense. So I think, let's see, ever since then, still to this day, I feel heavy. Like, I feel heavy. I weigh 140 pounds, y'all, and I just got to weigh 140 pounds. Um, I struggle with the eating disorder. So once upon a time, I weighed 99 pounds. That was just like, what, 4, 5, 6 years ago? Whenever 2021 was. Or 2020. Yeah, 2021, I think. Or 2020. 2021. But one of those years. Um, but even at 99 pounds, I still felt heavy. And that didn't contribute to my eating disorder because I knew where that heaviness was coming from. But the point that I'm trying to say is, like, before I died, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like I was heavy. I just was here. But when I left this body and came back, now I know the weight, because I know what it's like to be weightless. And so that's what that reminded me of, when you said that. And also reminded me of, like, just, yeah, like, trauma, abuse, and misery. That's like all I knew. And so that was the norm. I didn't think really nothing of it. Of course I did. I just didn't like it. Um, but I knew nothing else, um, until I got to experience on the other side. And now I was able to, then that's what kicked off that healing journey, because I was able to have that resistance. And I tell you what, now also knowing that, like, I didn't have love, to experiencing that kind of love, like, eh, I appreciate love so much more. There have been people, and just a few, and I mean just a few, just a few, before I was 15, that tried to love me. I pushed it away. I didn't like it. It didn't look like what was going on at home, so therefore it couldn't be right, right? Um, I I wouldn't even know what to do with it. Didn't know what to do with it, and so I pushed it away. I hurt it, and having experienced unconditional love and being able to see that resistance, that opposite, um, now I'm able to appreciate, and I'm telling you, I appreciate love so much, so much. Sometimes people are like, okay, I get it. But I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm still gonna tell you, like, I'm so grateful for you because I totally am. And so, like, I've been working on, like, okay, like, sometimes I can get a little overwhelming for people, but, like, if someone's, like, close to me and, they love me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them that I appreciate it. And I'm gonna tell them I love them. And I'm gonna tell them thank you for loving me. I'm gonna tell them that. I mean, but I say it a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And I'm seeing now that, yeah, that can be overwhelming for some people. But that's just kind of like goes to show though that like it was I don't know. I just really loved what you said because that's so true. I think that is totally a reality for many of us that, whether it's in just an experience, I'm not saying good or bad, it could just be a subjective or just could be experience that, if you've known only one thing, how do you know the other? And how do you know this one thing? How do you really know it? Unless you've encountered that resistance or that change, and it just can make you made me so much more appreciative of love. But that's what kicked off my healing journey. That's what kicked off my self-love journey. I never was taught self-love, never knew that was a word or a concept or a term, excuse me. I meant to say term, not word. I didn't know about that. I didn't even know what the word grace or what grace meant until I was 19. So that's
Mm.
just goes to show the extent of, I know what darkness and hate is. I could give you definitions of that growing up easily, but love, I wouldn't. I wouldn't know. But I mean, things are different now, obviously. But this was before 15, So I loved that. I really love that you mentioned that. That's why, when you were speaking, I was like nodding my head like the whole time. Um, and I try to like not nod my head sometimes, but I was just nodding. I couldn't help myself. I had to nod literally like we've been talking for 51 minutes. I have been nodding my head. No, it's a great thing, but I've been nodding my head the whole time. Like my neck hurts a little bit. But I was just really loving like everything that you said. I think everything that you said was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Like like to me, like knowing my experiences there. Oh, I'm so proud of me for saying that. Knowing my experiences and hearing those words, that's huge. And especially coming from someone who's I mean, I want to be respectful of people's, gender identification. Male, correct?
Yes.
He, him. Okay,
Yep.
signed male at birth. You identify as he, him. Um,
Mhm.
so, I think that's hearing you say this, it gives me hope. I no longer identify as he, him. I also think I was born intersex. Fun fact, folks. I don't know if for y'all that don't know what intersex is, it's millions of people that are born either both or neither. They're literally born like, I mean, like physically, like private parts and all, like they are born both, but we just don't talk about it in society, but they're there. Some people, there's also different ways that someone could be born intersex, like hormones and things like that. And so, and then there's also folks that are born neither. They're still considered intersex, but they're just born neither male, female, either. But I no longer identify as he, him. I identify as all of them and then none of them at the same time. Just because I'm just like I'm really tired of I'm tired of human boxing and limitations. Not saying they're all a bad thing, but I just I don't want to feel any type of limits anymore. I'm kind of tired of feeling that. Especially when I learned some stuff and I'm just like, I don't think societies are I think anyways, let me be quiet. Limits, not a fan of them, but I think it's huge though, coming from a male being able to talk about how self-love is important, saying that they've had to work on rewriting insecurities. I think that's huge because I was not taught that that men do that. I think humans can do that. I think humans could do that. I think humans, it benefits us humans to do that. But I noticed that um, early on, I noticed that um, how I was taught was to be in a box, right? And so I was raised, I was, well, I believe I was raised intersex. I saw my medical records, but we're just gonna say male just because that's what I was always told I was, and just because that's what I look like. Um, so I like to use the symbolism of the silhouette of a, let's say, 5'11" male, right? And then you have next to it a box. I like to say an Amazon box. I don't want to support the person, but support Jeff Bezos, but I love me some Amazon. It's way too convenient, and I just love it. I was just like, oh, come on, how can I not? But anyways, so picture those two, right? And then society says, and this goes back to what it's similar to what you were saying in the beginning. Society says this is what a man is, okay? But that silhouette of that male is human, right? It's human. But society says, no, 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 no. You can't be human. You have to be man. Be man, be everything but human. Why? Humans have emotions. Humans have insecurities. Humans cry. Men can't do that. Men can't be humans. And so that's what society says and showed me multiple times. And that's why I'm a little bit, I'm still upset at society. I'm grieving and healing, you know, things that were told, and I'm grieving having to unlearn a lot of things. So I'm grieving, and part of that grief comes frustration. Um, I'm no longer in the anger phase anymore. I'm in like the frustration phase and the crying phase. But anyways, folks, so how can that silhouette of that male who's the human, how can that fit in the box? It can't. So what it has to do, it has to cut off limbs, has to cut off its legs, has to cut off maybe some of its head to fit in that box. So all it has is a torso. But it's in the box, right? But that box, it's in the box. The what was the human is in the box, right? But its legs aren't in there. Its legs on. So what the point that I'm trying to make is that I was taught to reject and get rid of my humanity to fit in that box. To get rid of these important aspects about me that make me me, to make me be what I quote unquote should be and not what I could be. I can't do nothing with just a torso and with no head. There's no mouth on that, you know what I mean? I'm just a box for anyone to move where they want, where it they think it should be. But if I was in this silhouette, this human, I have arms, legs, a mouth, a head, ears. I can move. I can be what I could be. And so that's why I really am loving when you said the rewriting. I love that symbolism. I love that. That is amazing, like the rewriting of things, because that's I've been on that journey of rewriting. I didn't call it rewriting, I call it, like, healing. But I love learning, new ways to describe the same thing. And I think that's so poetic. And when you what you said in the beginning of the who are you, it reminded me of it just reminded me of that. I have thoroughly enjoyed everything that you've been saying. Yeah. Okay, I'm finished talking. Any thoughts, comments, Jamie? Anything that you wanted to add or say,
Y-
or
yeah. You know, you
questions?
don't get wet from the word water.
Mm, mm,
A word by definition is a box,
mm,
right? So if I so let's say, for example, and this isn't to downplay or downgrade everything you said about gender, right? I'm not equating the importance of this to what you said. I'm just kind of showing you how we as a society have associated language with reality.
Mhm.
And so, what I'm holding up to the audience is a computer mouse, right? And when I show you this, you see a mouse. You
Mhm.
see something that I used to move the computer mouse with. It clicks, right? It's got this wheel. Um, you see a mouse as soon you know exactly what it's used for, and we've labeled it a mouse. But by doing that, we've limited to what it actually could potentially do. I could use this to throw. I could play with it and have fun with it. I could throw this at someone's face and use it as a weapon. I could do all kinds, and I know that's a negative aspect of it. I'm just thinking of random things
Right,
because
right.
it's a mouse. It was designed to be a mouse, right? But
Mhm.
us as humans have those same labels. We have
Mhm.
those same words that people have assigned and attached to us. And most people are going to see this and they're going to see a mouse.
Yeah.
And so they're going to see you and they're going to see whatever label that they have inside their head. And it happens instantaneous. I show you this and you immediately think mouse.
Mhm.
You would
Mhm.
think you would grab if you wanted to use this, you would immediately grab it and use it to move your computer screen naturally. And so the world society having compassion and having the awareness that it's so automatic for them to label you immediately
Mhm.
creates that sense of forgiveness. It creates that sense of compassion, that empathy that they literally have no idea. They wouldn't even understand that if you tried to explain it to them.
Mhm.
They don't have the ability, they don't have the intelligent capacity in this moment to even grasp that idea. And the more you can
Mhm.
forgive them and have compassion for them that they're literally not capable of understanding everything that you just said, that most people don't have that ability. It's the people who have more awareness of themselves and this idea of language not being reality, um, that is going to be able to understand that, and their reflection of what they say and what they do has nothing to do with you as a person, as a human, as you decide who you want to be and how you want to be and how you want to be treated. It has nothing to do with other people. And you have the ability to, in the face of their criticisms, in the face of their hatred or unawareness or ignorance, you have the ability to continue to root yourself, your attention, your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions within yourself as self love and self acceptance.
Mhm.
So that's really the last thing that I would say in response to everything you just said. And thank you for sharing. And, we need more love and more compassion and more self love and more people going through a journey of
Mhm.
fully accepting themselves unconditionally first without needing anyone else to be able to do that, and then by extension, after you're able to do that for yourself, do your absolute best to give it to other people because at the end of the day, as hard as it is to fully comprehend and probably understand, what you probably experienced was not just love for yourself, but for all humanity and all
Mhm.
people, and that divine love is reserved for the worst of us.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Because unconditional love is just that.
Yes.
It's unconditioned. The misery and the hatred that other people create
Mhm.
is a reflection of what they believe about themselves and
Mhm.
the world that they live in. Their hatred, their misery, the things that they are experiencing, they have no other way to do anything with that but to try and pull people into their world.
Mhm.
And so by saying no, I will not live in your world. I will
Mhm.
live in my world.
Mhm.
I will unconditionally love myself and I will feel compassion and I will feel love for you in the sense of I just wish you well, and I
Mm,
wish one day you will change your negative thoughts and your negative emotions and
mm,
your negative patterns to hurt people because you unconsciously are hurt. I hope you heal that and you transform that. And what that does for you has nothing to do with the other person.
mhm,
What that does for you is create love within yourself, and it creates power within yourself because now nobody on the outside has any ability to fuck with you or your happiness
mhm.
ever again.
Yes, yes. Beautiful, beautifully, beautifully said. Awesome. Jamie, well, thank you so much, Jamie. Folks, I like to leave with a little challenge. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Before I head out, folks, so probably next episode or the episode after that, folks, I'll be talking about why I chose to go by all or none of the pronouns. We'll be talking about that, folks. A little sneak peek. I learned that throughout majority of history, there has never been two genders ever. That is a modern age concept. I was like, wow. And it was normal. Like everyone went by like there's like for example two spirited, there was the bunaki, there was people went by he him she her, but there was like what 13, 14 other gender identifications that were just normal and they varied by culture, but there was never two, folks. And so I learned that I learned that and really 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 did some so it made me change a lot in my research for my dissertation. Folks that don't know, I'm currently getting my PhD, and so I have to, my PhD in sociology, so I have to. But anyways, stay tuned for that episode. That's going to be a really interesting one, and I'm excited for that. So stay tuned for that. And then the last thing, I like to leave with a little challenge, folks. Um, so I was going to do my original challenge to you all, but I think Jamie's episode has really, really just really did some good. Some good. Okay. So let's do this, folks. The challenge is tell yourself, even if you don't believe it right now, text it to yourself, type it to yourself, or say it to yourself. Say that you are worthy, you are loved, and you are beautiful. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you believe it or not. Say it. Say it to yourself. Okay.
Can I add
Yes, please
a
do.
piece to the challenge?
Yes, please do. Oh yeah, please do.
Yeah, I'll add a little extra. You should do that, but you should also do that to every version of you that has ever lived. The little kid in you, the adult, pre-adolescent, the adolescent, whatever stage in your life. If you're in your 40s or your 50s, do it to the one in your 20s, the 30s, 40s. Do it to every version of you that has changed and has become different than you are now, and just bless that version of you as well as your present moment.
Mm.
And experience the self love, the unconditional self love of not just present moment, but of past, present, and future.
Wow. I'm gonna do that. Because usually I just tell my current self and my inner child that. But you're right, there's that teenage self.
Mhm.
There's that 2020 self. That was different.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna do that. Thank you, Jamie. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. Alrighty, folks. I will see y'all next time for whatever that episode will be. All right. I love you all. Get on out of here.